Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's panel discussion. We're going to be talking about circularity within the mining and metals industry, specifically looking at the energy transition. I'm joined today by a really fantastic panel of speakers representing both the mining and metals industry and our value chain. My name is Bryony Clearhill. I'm the Director of Innovation at ICMM. We're an industry association for the mining industry, focusing specifically on responsible mining and the contribution that our industry can have towards the energy transition, the Sustainable Development Goals, the Paris Agreement, and building the future that we want to see for the world. Now, today I'm going to be introducing my the fantastic panel shortly, but I wanted to start by setting the scene because I know that circularity in the mining and metals industry isn't always something that sits comfortably in people's minds, or not something that they always kind of immediately connect as concepts. So I'm just going to put a slide up for a moment, which explains how we at ICMM see mining and the circular economy. So, looking at the energy transition, we know that we're going to see a huge increase in demand for metals. And we know that part of that demand is likely to be met by secondary supply, so recycling and recovery of metals. But we also know that primary mining is going to continue to be very important in the supply of these materials for the coming decades. It's not recycling or primary mining, it's both. We need both of them if we're going to meet the demand that we're expecting to see. And so when we think about circularity at ICMM, we have this in mind and we talk about two linked concepts. We talk about process circularity and product circularity. When we talk about process circularity, we're talking about all the different ways that we can build circularity into the mining and processing stages. So that can include the principles of elimination, of reuse, of reduce. And we're going to hear some examples from the panel today of what that actually looks like in practice. So the first step is making sure that anything that we're mining and putting into the system has been done so in a responsible way, and circularity can be a really important aspect of that. We also know that there's no point in producing beautiful, net zero, nature positive, dream, minimal impact copper if it's going to end up in waste after a year, for example. So we need to also be looking at what happens to these materials once they're in the system. We need to be making sure that we're treating them as valuable stocks that are being brought back into use over and over again and fully utilizing the potential of metal to be a durable material, the perfect building block for the circular economy. At ICMM, we've done a lot of work over this over the last few years. And if you're interested in learning more, then do take a look at our tools for circularity that we published last year. So that's all I'm going to do by way of introduction. And I'm going to move over to our panel now because we have a really fantastic panel and I want to give them as much time as possible. We're going to have time for questions at the end. Please feel free to use the Q&A function that you should be able to see. That's going to be the easiest way for me to keep track of questions. So please do put them into that Q&A function and we will try and leave as much time as possible towards the end of the session. So joining me today, we have four wonderful panelists, as I said, from the mining and metals industry and the value chain. So we have Bernardita Mancilla Vigneaux, who is the Director of Responsible Production and Circular Economy at CODELCO, joining us from Chile. We have Eliane Cote, who is the Principal Advisor for ESG at Rio Tinto, joining us from Canada. We have Lisa Hickey, who is the Mining Social Responsibility Officer in the mining business line at Michelin, joining us from the US today. And then we have Adelson Neto, who is joining us from Volvo Group and is based in Brazil. So a really wonderful panel who are going to help us dive into what does circularity actually mean when we're talking about mining and metals, and what does it look like for our value chain. And I'm going to start with the same question for all four of our panelists, and I'm going to come to Bernie first. And the first question that I'm going to ask our panelists is, firstly, can you tell us a bit more about your role, and tell us what circularity means within your organization? So, Bernie, we'll come straight to you.
Thank you, Bryony. Can you all hear me well? Yes, okay, great. Thank you. It is a pleasure to be here. So thank you all, and thank you, Bryony. Thank you, ICMM as well, and the World Resources Forum. So my role, as you mentioned on my title, is to develop the framework of circular economy in CODELCO at the corporate level, and helping the mine sites to implement standardized and, of course, circular economy, our objectives in circular economy, and then for that to keep fostering innovation to do more and more. So for those of you who doesn't know what Codelco is, it's a Chile state-owned copper mining company. And for us, sustainability is not just an ambition, it is a part of our purpose. Our purpose to be a pillar of sustainable development for Chile and for the world. And so we do that by operating with a responsible mining approach. And circularity is, of course, a key enabler of sustainability. Um, it has a part of recycling, but for us, it goes way beyond recycling as well. It is about retaining value and avoiding value loss. So that's why circular economy is also one of our 6 commitments to sustainable development for 2030. And for this, we have a goal and we have a KPI, which is to recycle 65% of our known hazardous waste. We have been doing quite good. On 2023, we achieved 34% of this rate. Last year, we exceeded that and we managed to get to a 49%. And our forecast for this year is to achieve 51%, but we are confident that we're going to exceed that as well. But as I mentioned, for Codelco, circular economy is not just about recycling. And that's why last year we took a major step forward by aligning with international best practices, such as the ICMM's Toolkit for Circularity. We also took a look at what the market is saying about circularity in copper, what new trends are out there. And that's why we redesign our circular economy framework. And now it's grounded in 6 pillars. We love to separate things in 6. So everything, 6 key objectives, 6 commitments, 6 pillars. One is minimizing waste generation, maximizing economic value, rethinking massive mining waste, valorizing solid industrial waste in our operations, engaging with suppliers to foster circular supply chain, and leveraging innovation to address sustainability challenges, because we know, especially for circular economy, innovation, it's key. So now this framework has 3 dimensions, which are the same dimensions of mining for us. One is processes, the second is products, and the third is projects. So we have an objective in each of these 3 dimensions. In processes, we aim to implement circular models in our operations. In products, we want to generate new circular products and byproducts. And on the third, in projects, we are focused on regenerating the territories in which we operate. Hello? Hi? I think I lost the connection.
We can still
Oh,
hear
no,
you.
I'm still here. Okay.
No.
Suddenly you all went black. So, okay. Where was I? Oh, right. So I just, to round up how we implement a circular economy in Codelco, I just want to highlight one example of this innovation and the connection, at least in 2 of these objectives, which is to connect processes and products. So we take a massive mining waste, such as tailings, which are part of the result of our processes. And with innovation and with circular economy in mind, we take more value out of tailings to produce a circular product, which is also copper and molybdenum. So this is done in El Teniente, which is the world's largest underground copper mine. El Teniente is an hour south from Santiago, which is the capital city of Chile. And Teniente has been partnering with MVC, which is a tailing reprocessing plant for more than 20 years. And this plant takes out copper and molybdenum from both legacy and current tailings. And right now, this new process is about 7% of the copper and the molybdenum generated by El Teniente. So as an important number. And I think it's a good example of how circular economy can be implemented in the mining site.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Benny, for kicking us off with such kind of real examples of how CODELCO is looking at circularity and implementing it in your operations. We'll come now to another mining and metals company, and that's Rio Tinto. So, Eliane, if you could talk us through the approach that circularity takes within your organization.
Yes, hello. So I'm Principal Advisor ESG within the Strategy and Performance Sustainability and ESG team. And as you were saying, it's part of the strategy. So circularity is an integral component of Rio Tinto's business strategy. It promotes sustainability. So that's where it. It also supports our company comprehensive environmental, social, and governance objectives. So why is it important for Rio Tinto to go into circular economy? Well, first of all, it's strategic alignment. Our focus on circularity helps Rio Tinto align its business priorities with the societal expectation and ensures that the sustainability is in the core of every decision. And it also supports our license to operate and strengthens our investor confidence in ESG performance. It actually helps also to support our nature restoration objectives. It helps us achieve our net zero target 250. So that's one thing. Also, it also is extracting additional value business opportunities. So resource efficiency, securing resources and innovation. So by establishing this circular economy ecosystem, we can actually extract additional value from waste material. Producing, for example, some great material, lithium from waste rock. We have scientists working all over the world trying to extract more and more of the waste rock or any quality critical minerals. Such as the scandium. We've also have gallium that is being trying to valorized out of our bauxite. And so it promotes and reuses the recycling essential for climate mitigation and achieving our zero emissions. Also, the other aspect that is very important for Rio Tinto is anything that has to do with partnership and circular pilots. So that actually the circularity is driving our collaboration and partnerships. And we've established various partnerships to develop, implement circular solutions. So we cannot do this alone. It is circular, so we have to have partners. So this approach creates commercial opportunities, creates new jobs, sustainable products, while preserving also our ecological and cultural heritage values for the local community. It also helps support our Rio Tinto customers, because our customers also have circularity goals. And so we are in the partnerships and the pilots, we're actually going through product design, certification, traceability, and collaboration through circular economy. And also, it also helps us not only work onto the recycling of our minerals, but we also are partnership in an ecosystem. So, for example, we'll have circularity practices such as the joint venture Evolis, where we are renewable metallurgical biocarbon being reintegrated from biomass residues. So it's not only the circular economy for our own metal and mining products, but also we are also part of that whole process and products recycling or circle. And finally, I think it brings social and community value. So through this circular economy, we've had various opportunities to help improve health and well-being of our communities and bring some economical development. So, for example, in Diavik, we've had a recycling project. Actually, we have 2 recycling projects for either copper or PPEs. And it is a point that is closing. So this will bring an employment opportunity furthermore. So I think that overall, circularity also mitigates our long-term resource risks and enhances our resilience and supply disruptions. So that's for Rio Tinto.
Thank you so much, Eliane. I think you covered so much there in terms of the value of circularity. It's not doing it for the sake of circularity, but actually it helps us to meet all of these different targets, these different goals. It supports our communities. It, strengthens those relationships. And one of the things you touched on there was actually we can't do it on our own. We need to collaborate with our value chain, which is the perfect segue across to Lisa. And Lisa, you're representing Michelin, a major supplier of the mining industry. So what does circularity look like within your organization?
Yes, well, thank you, Bryony. So my name is Lisa Hickey. I'm the Global Mining Social Responsibility Officer for the Michelin Mining Business Line. And we actually look at circular economy as a strategic challenge and a growth driver for Michelin. We actually see that a linear economy would have a number of important material impacts and most importantly, risks. But we see with circular economies, on the other hand, a huge array of opportunities. We can drive the development of new, more sustainable ways of producing our products, our tires and other products. We see opportunities for better use of resources. And arguably, and most importantly, we see the opportunity to extend product lifetimes. And a lot of the work that we do with the global miners, several of which are on this call today, is all about how do we extract that value from that resource? How do we extend that product? How do we make sure that we are mitigating that use of the product so that it has a limited impact on the environment and that it lasts as long as it possibly can? We also see circularity as a way to help to develop industrial scale capacity for us to supply sustainable materials so that we have a more responsible, environmentally friendlier future for all. And just to step back a little bit, CODELCO likes to have 6 things. I guess at Michelin, we like to have 3 key things. So at Michelin, we have this all sustainable strategy, and it's all about a balance between people, profit, and planet. So when we report on results, when we report on anything in meetings, we never just do one of those things. We always talk about people, profit, and planet. And then if you take that from the global Michelin standpoint into what we're doing on the mining side and how circularity is important and relevant, we have a construct called Michelin Better Mining. And so for us, Michelin Better Mining, in partnership, in collaboration, working with our customers, which is absolutely pivotal and critical. It's all about how can we be safer, how can we be smarter or more productive, and how can we be more sustainable? And in my work every single day, I'm working on the third one. How can we be more sustainable? So circularity falls absolutely into that category. And also circular materials are a powerful lever for really reducing our environmental impact and footprint and supporting a more sustainable economy. We design all of our tires using an eco design policy so that we can study during the life cycle that we create the impact they have on the environment, and we can impact or we can work to mitigate that impact at every single stage so that we can make sure that we're limiting that environment. We're also really actively pursuing commitments to design tires entirely from renewable or recyclable materials by 2050. So 100% renewable or recycled by 2050. It's an enormous ambition and a significant challenge, but it's one that we're serious about and one that we want to make sure that we work on and we fulfill. And then the final piece of the response, I would say, is we're really actively supporting the emergence of value chains based on end-of-life tire recycling. I think this ties back to some of the comments from Bernie and so also from Eliane in terms of the social impact. We really want to make sure that we're creating value at the end of life and that we're designing products so that we're able to extract as much value and minimize as much as possible waste and create circular patterns so that those materials are used again and again and again optimally in a closed loop environment in the same mine. That's where we'd like to get to. We're not there today, but the hope is that we can achieve that one day. Thank you, Bryony.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Lisa. And sticking with the value chain, Athelstan Volvo Group is both a supplier to the industry of vehicles, but also a big user of metals and the product of the industry. So I guess you're kind of operating in both parts of the supply chain. Could you share with us how Volvo Group approaches circularity?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Brianni. So, hi, everyone. So, Atuso Neto from Volvo Group. Actually, Volvo Group Trucks Purchasing. I'm responsible for sustainable mining, and I do believe that having a sustainable mining in a purchasing division already tells a lot because we are really worried with all the minerals that are coming into our equipment and how sustainable they are. Even though mining companies, I'm like they are like tier 4, 5, or sometimes even tier 7 up in our supply chain. But I would say that circularity is definitely a cornerstone of our sustainability strategy, and it's especially critical when we think about the full value chain from raw materials extraction to end of life recovery. For us, it's not just about recycling at the end. I would say that it starts at the sourcing process, not just our sourcing process, but the sourcing process of our supply chain, of our suppliers. So sourcing from the companies, including how we work, of course, with the whole mining sector. And as an OEM, as a manufacturer that depends heavily on the metals like steel, and then we have iron ore for that, aluminum with bauxite, copper, and critical minerals. We recognize that circularity begins with the responsible sourcing of it all. So the mining sector plays a fundamental role in enabling our shift to fossil-free and low-emission solutions, which, by the way, we aim to be fossil-free by 2040, and we know that that's quite anticipated since most of the sector is talking about 2050. But as Brianni said, we are also a solutions provider. We provide not just the mining sector, but all sectors with equipment, and taking into consideration that the average life of our equipment is around 10 years. We do understand that we need to anticipate and deliver zero fossil-free equipment by 2040, so that by 2050 we are all able to reach this fossil-free, this net zero ambition. So, and that's why we go beyond our own operations and evaluate the environmental and social footprint of the materials we rely on. So, including, of course, the emissions, and not just that, but also all the human rights risks associated to them. And at Volvo Group, we conduct life cycle assessment for all of our major product lines to understand the biggest impact, where the biggest impacts occur. So, and mining is one of those areas, of course, and the LCA process help us and our customers, and not just our customers, but also our suppliers to make better decisions about materials, durability, and end of life option. So it also informs how we design for reuse, which is a priority for us, how we optimize maintenance of those equipment and reduce the need for virgin material inputs. And I would say that internally we apply circularity through waste minimization and material efficiency in manufacturing. Of course, we are looking for circular not just in our products but internally, and of course in our upstream value chain as well. So the majority of our production waste is recycled, especially metal scrap, and we are working to expand landfill-free production sites across our global footprint as well. But we also know that circularity, as I said, doesn't stop at the factory gate. So I would say that, and again, that might sound repetitive right at the beginning of the panel, but collaboration across the supply chain is the key to achieving it, I would say, because through our sustainable, we do have some collaboration with organizations out there, including Sustainable Minerals Program, where we engage directly with suppliers to assess and improve sourcing practices, particularly for high risk materials, especially at the refinery level. But we do understand that we need to go further than that and also look after the extraction phase, the mineral extraction phase. So, and of course, this work helps us build traceability, improve transparency, and support more responsible practices in the upstream industry, including mining, which I've mentioned, and of course at the refinery phase, which is quite important for us as well. So for you to have an idea, we also engage in broader partnerships. So we have joint ventures focused on fuel cell systems, circular battery ecosystems, and the development of future-proof vehicle platforms. Uh, Ultimately, circularity supports our ambition to reach net zero greenhouse gas emissions. As I said, it's a cornerstone to us. So whether it's through smarter design or longer lasting products or better material sourcing, it's a core enabler of the decarbonization journey here within Volvo.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Adelson, for that overview of the approach that you take. So we've got 4 different companies all connected to mining and metals in some way, but I think it's also fair to say that we've got kind of 4 slightly different approaches to circularity, just showing the kind of breadth of ways that the industry is embracing circularity and kind of rising to the challenge. Just a reminder for those of you listening, please do put questions into the Q&A box. I can see that we've got a couple starting to trickle through. Please do use the Q&A function if possible rather than the chat, just because it's easier to keep track of questions as they're coming in. So I'm now going to come to each of our panelists in turn with some slightly different questions. So Eliane, starting with you, Rio Tinto is a really massive company operating kind of in lots of different countries around the world, multiple commodities, lots of different business units. How does the approach taken to circularity differ between different parts of the organization?
So yes, as you mentioned, Rio Tinto's approach to circularity has to vary. It actually has to vary across its different businesses, units, operations, geographies. Each reflects its unique challenges and opportunities, each sector. So I would say there's the area of the mining, which has their own, and the metals and the recycling industries coming together. So with the mining, we are progressing innovative ways to reduce our operation, reduce waste from our operations, while supplying the minerals and the minerals for the crucial energy transition. So what we've been doing is, for example, at Kennecott, we have begun production of tellurium, which is a critical mineral used in solar panels. And this valuable material is recovered from byproduct streams generated from the copper refining process. We are also looking at, as I was saying, gallium from the bauxite. So we're really trying to have that view of reducing waste, but also adding value for products that are in high demand. The other thing is we have also the view of trying to extract as much as possible, so we don't leave tailings with value out there. So that's the other approach that we've been taking into the mining. So we try to find a use for every material that we dig out of the ground. That's the other avenue that we are actually doing for the mining. Also, we've been doing also a lot of R&D to see if we can find other ways to extract. For example, we have a leaching technology that allows the recovery of copper resources that previously were too challenging or too expensive to process. And with incredible recovery rates up to 85% of primary sulfide ore, and eliminating the need for smelting and refining. So that's extracting valuable minerals from waste. That's the minerals. And then we have, on the other side, we have a lot of processing, like aluminum and copper. And in there, we're actually trying to reach as much as possible a net zero waste, and doing extracting anything byproducts that have some kind of value. So that when we do that extraction of valuable minerals from our waste or byproducts, we can reduce the amount sent to landfill and make use for products and create new revenue streams and also help as Alison was saying, is also helping our customers meet their own sustainability and circularity goals with LCA. So you now know that we are recycling, that where we are doing this reduction of landfill. The other some of the valorization work where we create products from waste is contributing and generating byproducts that are hard to handle and require expensive and challenging disposal options. So smelting aluminum products, several byproducts have high potential valorization. So we're actually looking into ways of doing this. We're also looking on ways we can recycle material. And I know recycling is not only circularity, but it's also it's something that is being requested. So in the US, we have our Kennecott copper operation recycling scrap material, and we're also offering high quality alloys made of recycled content. So we've been going into the mining, trying to extract the most of it, and then at the other side, like on the process side, trying to reduce our byproducts, our waste, trying to recycle. And as I was saying just before, trying to figure out if we can actually recycle something else that is not necessarily metals. And then finally, we're also working on the closure, restoring legacy and former mine sites, which is a very complex and industry-wide challenge, but it's also part of circularity. So we're trying to partner again with others to launch, for example, the regeneration, which is remining, processing waste from legacy mines to support rehabilitation activities and restore natural environments. So in a nutshell, we've embraced the full value mining, which is extracting the most valuable minerals. We've been going for reduction of waste, getting value from those byproducts that we are producing, that we have to produce, but we will get some value out of it, and restoring and regenerating our legacy sites.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Eliane. I think you touched on something there that I think is really interesting for people who might not be as familiar with the mining and metals industry, because sometimes we talk about the mining industry and then we talk about the kind of recycling, e-waste, scrap industry as though they're two completely separate things. But actually, a lot of that work is happening by what we would think of as traditional mining companies. And Rio Tinto is an example of one of those companies that's actually seeing circular economy as an opportunity for new business models to emerge. Where you're, supplying metal, but some of that is mined, some of it is recovered, and kind of put back into the system. And I think that's something that we're going to see more of going forward as people kind of realize the opportunities associated with circularity. Athelstan, we're going to come back to you to kind of touch on, I suppose, a core question on this panel, which is we have representatives from different parts of the value chain on this panel. What is the importance of including different parts of the value chain when we talk about circularity?
Yeah, so we see circularity not as just as a siloed effort, but it's a system-wide transformation, and that only works if every part of the value chain is deeply involved in it. So as a supplier to the mining sector, we know our role isn't just about delivering equipment, it's also about helping the industry operate more sustainably and more efficiently over time. That means that we have to be aligned with how materials are sourced, how equipment is maintained, and how components are repurposed or recycled. And this is a true circular market because mining companies are as much our clients as we are theirs, right? So this is truly a circular market. So mining is at the foundational of all industrial value chain, including ours. The metal and minerals extracted upstream directly influence the footprint of our products downstream. So if we want to reduce the environmental impact of our trucks, machines, buses, and so on, it's essential to engage with the very start of the chain, which is the mining companies, the mine sites. So this is especially true for high impact materials like steel, aluminum, battery materials, and electronics, which are priorities in our emission reduction efforts, actually. So that's why we are working closely with suppliers to assess sourcing practices and support better material traceability, because this is really, really important to have this traceability, particularly for sensitive resources. So, such as cobalt, tin, tantalum, gold, and so on. So I would say that we follow international frameworks towards that, like the OECD guidelines, and we apply tools such as the Responsible Minerals Initiative, RMI, uh, up to the refinery level, so that we can be sure of the sourcing process. And this type of collaboration it's not optional for us, which makes circularity real and credible. But the value chain also goes downstream. So the way we design and service our equipment affects how long it stays in operation, how it can be refurbished, and what happens at the end of life. So we have a large install base of machines and vehicles that we support with service agreements, digital rules, and life cycle models. But that gives us the chance to capture value multiple times while reducing waste and resource consumption. Ultimately, circularity only works when everyone is at the table. Mining companies, OEMs like us, both on the sourcing phase and the solutions equipment provider, uh, policymakers, recyclers, and customers. So the opportunities and the responsibilities, they are shared, right? So if we are serious about sustainability, especially in critical sectors like mining, we have to treat circularity as a collective effort. So not just a technical concept, but a business and collaboration model.
That's wonderful. Thank you. I think you've pulled out so many important points there around the importance of product design, which isn't something that or service design, it's something that we haven't really touched on previously. And also traceability is that kind of important thing for making sure that we're being able to trace these valuable stocks as they move through the value chain. So now coming back to Bernie and Lisa, so CODELCO and Michelin have been working together on tire recycling in Chile. So starting with you, Bernie, could you talk to us a little bit about that collaboration that you've been doing with Michelin, what it looks like, and kind of how circularity is at the heart of that? And then Lisa, will come to you for your perspective on that.
For sure. Thank you, Bryony. And I love to hear how we all see that collaboration is such an important part of implementing circular economy, just as Adelson said right now. Yeah, it is absolutely essential. And especially throughout the value chain, it's really important then when we are seated at this table, as Adelson mentioned, we share a common vision, because we need to say that some still think that sustainability costs more. But that's the beauty of circular economy. It has the word economy on it. So we need to, both parts or every part needs to reduce costs and create the value. So that's part of the collaboration, because it's not always in front of us. We don't always see how to do that. So that's why the long-term relationships are important, trust, transparency, to build on that and to develop the circular business model. So yes, of course, Michelin has been an outstanding partner of this, and especially because because CODELCO It's a copper mining company. Our main focus is still primarily on our processes. So we take collaboration and processes and we deploy this in three key work streams. First is upstream. So we aim to prevent waste generation from the very start. This means working closely with suppliers to create closed loop models where discarded materials from our operations are recovered and returned to their manufacturing plants to be transformed into new products. And in this way, well, avoid waste while generating share value and creating new products for us for our mining sites. Second, it's the second key. It's around our users in the operations. So there our focus is to extend the useful life of materials on site. We have an example of that with tire repair and retreating services. We carry out with trusted providers, of course, so we can ensure and they ensure us the same safety and performance standards as a new tire, because of course safety is critical for operation efficiency and safety in mining environments. And the third aspect is to address waste downstream when a material has already been used and can't be immediately reintegrated into our process, at least not yet. And that's something that Michelin is working on. So especially in this part, the collaboration with Michelin has made a real difference because yes, tired after being used. So what do we do? What do we do with them? And this is the beauty. We share the same sustainability goals as Lisa mentioned. So we have co-developed a program that includes reverse logistics for these end-of-life tires. We pilot the system in 2023, and we fully implemented it across all of our sites last year. So this means coordinating shipments from our operations. We have 8 operation sites, coordinating this logistic back to Michelin's facility, allowing the recovery and transformation of the materials that would otherwise become waste. There's also strong motivation on both sides to improve tire performance and durability, which directly reduces the volume of tires reaching end of life. So we are also trying to work on the first work stream. So through this collaboration, we now have a tangible tool to advance to our 2030 waste recovery plan. And this initiative not only help us meet our obligations under and Michelin's obligations under Chile's extended producer responsibility law, but it also help us tackle nearly 30% of our historical accumulated use tires. So yeah, in short, circularity is something that cannot be achieved alone. I think Elaine mentioned it. We need to align incentives, long-term relationships, continuous innovation, of course, and to build on trust.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Bernie. And now coming to Lisa, it's one of those rare opportunities where we kind of have both partners within a collaboration together on a call. So we'll come to you now to hear kind of Michelin's perspective on the collaboration with CODELCO.
Well, thank you, Bryony, and thank you so much, Bernie. And I have to say that collaboration, trust, working closely together, in our opinion, is absolutely critical and crucial in circularity. And it's been a pleasure to work closely with CODELCO on all of the projects that we've been working on. And we feel like working with mining companies, we can take the expertise we have at Michelin in materials and composites, as well as our passion for innovation, because we must have innovation as well, to help mining companies uncover ways to make their mine transport activities safer, smarter, and more sustainable. And the CODELCO example I love so much because it's actually a localized solution that was developed as well to meet the EPR requirements that came into play in Chile just a couple of years ago. It also meets a need that the customer has, and it's actually truly a great privilege to partner with CODELCO to help them to find ways to extract the maximum value from such a significant resource as an ultra class tire. So it's not just what do we do with them at the end of life, it's how do we make them live a longer life, right? Exactly as Bernie said. How do we repair? How do we get better at that? How do we work with those who do those repairs? How do we retread? How do we make sure that we have the same standards, the same safety requirements for a retread tire as a new? And that is actually very new to mining. How do we create a more energy efficient mining tire, which exists in other categories? So we're looking at all of those things in terms of circularity, and we're trying to take that input into the offers that we create in the marketplace, and we try to bring them back to our customers. And then I'll close to say, finally, we're super proud of the partnership that we have with CODELCO, and also we've opened our first mining tire recycling facility in Antofagasta, Chile. It's all about contributing to the management and recycling of end-of-life tires in South America. It's an important step in our circularity strategy. And what it does, this facility, it actually specializes in the cutting and shredding of giant mining tires, which are like 63 inches. They're very, very big, and it helps to convert them into something called micronized rubber powder. And this is a recycled raw material that can be used in the manufacture of new products, including some new tires as well. And we're able to do quite a few 63-inch tires now already in South America. So we're super happy about that. We're super happy to take that too and potentially to customize it for other regions, other countries, and other miners. But it's been a pleasure and continues to be a pleasure working with CODELCO and also with Rio Tinto on this topic. So thank you, Brioni.
Thanks so much, Lisa. So if you've been listening to the whole panel so far, you might be sort of have the impression that, circularity is great. It seems to be happening everywhere. However, I think if you went and talked to, a range of different mining companies, people at mine sites, people in different parts of the value chain, it's not necessarily the norm. There are great examples from all over the world, but it's not something that necessarily is happening at every site in every case. And even kind of the phrase circular economy sometimes has a bit of an allergic reaction from some people in the industry. There's a kind of range of different barriers, some of which I can see coming through in the questions. Please keep on sending the questions through, and we will get to those as soon as possible. So I'm going to now ask the panelists, and we are running a bit short on time, so please keep your answers kind of as short and snappy as you're able to. What is the one thing that you think would help drive greater circularity across mining and metals value chains? So I'm going to start with you, Adelson.
Okay, so I believe this is the word I said the most today, and I will stick to it. So I believe that collaboration is fundamental, because if we truly want this to have a large to go at in scale, we need to collaborate, and that's the one thing that will help to unlock faster progress across the mining and metals value chain. When we talk about barriers like regulation, cost, standards, they are all interconnected. So, and no, and none of them can be solved by a single company or sector if acting alone. So that's why we truly need collaboration. And as an example of that, I'm like we've joined various organizations, and one an example of that is the First Movers Coalition, which is about an organization and a collaboration about sending clear demand signals for low emissions and responsible sourced minerals across the automotive value chain. So this is really, really important. I mean, like through that, they can help align expectations between buyers and producers, right? So for us, the real accelerator of circularity again is the collaboration for us upstream mainly, and how materials are being extracted, reported, and shared across the whole value chain. And if we want circularity to become the standard, not the exception. We need more partnerships that connect sustainability goals with real sourcing decisions. That's where we can have the most influence and where the impact is the greatest, I believe. And just to close, I would like to quote our CEO, Martin Lundstedt. He always says that partnership is the new leadership. So we truly believe in that, and collaboration is essential.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Alison. So same question now to you, Eliane. What's the one thing that you think would help drive greater circularity across the value chains?
Well, I would say collaboration as well, but there's other things also that could drive. I think profitability. We can't go around profitability. We need to demonstrate the value proposition of our circular practices to our stakeholders, and the markets can be challenging. So understanding this markets is and getting aligned to it. So we might do all these R&D, but if we don't have a need for the product, if our customers cannot take enough of it, and if we're not close enough to our customers, then you are not profitable. So we need to go around and get those metrics and methods and quantify it and present a value proposition to our shareholders. So on top of our collaboration, we need to be profitable for these circular. Well, as I say, economy is part of the circular economy.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Eliane. And then coming across to you, Lisa, for the same question.
Yeah, very quickly, because I know we're getting slower, we're getting low on time. So I have to echo what Alison said about collaboration. And I would just say collaboration for innovation with trust. I think we need more events like this. I think we need to focus more and more and be bolder in the way that we collaborate and in the way that we understand the barriers and the risks, and specifically questioning, regulatory frameworks, the complex adjustments that have to be made to supply chains, and looking at the supply chain up and down all across the way. So we have to do that, and we have to press forward in a strong and bold way. Thank you, Bryony.
Thanks so much, Lisa. And then Bernie, final word to you. What would you like to see to help unlock some of these opportunities?
Yes, thank you. And I think I'm also going to answer one of Henry's questions, and it is also related to what Eliane said. I'm going to highlight that to update and to develop enabler regulations is also important for circular economy and for the profitability. I've seen in different countries, not just in Chile, that we have a good framework, a good regulatory framework. We have, for example, here in Chile, we have a circular economy roadmap, and we have the extended producer responsibility law. But regulations, specific regulations, are not updated or are not created yet. So it doesn't allow the creation of secondary markets. And if we don't have that secondary markets, it's difficult to have a demand that can pull the circular business models. I'm going to be very quick, but we have an example in Chile, the slags from copper smelting. In other countries, they are classified as byproducts, but in Chile, it's slags classified as waste, so we cannot use them as iron silicate or as artificial aggregate for paving. So we are losing an important part of this economy, in this circular economy momentum that we are in the whole mining value chain.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Bernie. And I think in that last round, we've actually managed to answer a few of the questions that have come in on the Q&A. So hopefully if you've typed a question, you might already have heard a response. We do have a few minutes more, though, for some more questions. I'm going to ask a question about the role of new technologies and innovation. So I don't know, Bernie or Eliane, whether either of you are able to share some of the some examples of kind of innovative extractive technologies that are enabling the circular economy. So bioleaching membranes. Eliane, whether you might be able to talk to the importance of kind of remining of tailings within the Rio Tinto portfolio. Bernie or Eliane, would one of you like to take that one?
I can take that one. It is crucial. It is actually crucial. It's one of the challenges we have is that we don't have that necessarily all the technologies. We're still trying to figure out and develop those technologies. But we have a few things ongoing. We're trying to extract gallium. We have a pilot for scandium out of waste. So we need that innovation to drive the circular economy. Different extractions, I can't go into the details, but we do have development, and we have a big team out of Australia, but we also have research and development centers out of Rio Tinto iron and titanium for the aluminum, all looking into different technologies to get extraction of our minerals, better extraction of our minerals, and as well as getting value from our byproducts.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Eliane. There's another question about balancing environmental impacts and the kind of economic side of things. And this is something that we touched on, kind of the need to keep the kind of economy part of circular economy in that. Adelson or Lisa, I wonder if one of you could talk about kind of the importance of balancing all of these different aspects when you're thinking about kind of the business case for circularity.
Just if you could reframe the question, I'm not sure that I completely understood it. I'm sorry.
So how do you think about the need to kind of balance environment and kind of the environmental impacts, or the benefits to the environment, with still needing to make the kind of economy, the economic case for circularity?
Yeah, I can begin with a quick response and then pass it to Adelson. So that's really challenging, right? So the business model for recycling tires, for example, it's very difficult today, for example, to find the downstream markets for the end-of-life products. But there is a value, and we know there is a value. So we have to be very careful to manage that and to find opportunities for cost reductions when they're not initially and immediately obvious. So things like reverse logistics, which was something that was referenced by Bernie and CODELCO, is really important to us. The correct placement of a production facility that treats end-of-life products, finding downstream markets and opportunities where people can actually make use of those materials as close to the production as possible are all really important things and must be considered right at the beginning of the process versus at the end of the value chain. Thank you for repeating the question, Bernie.
Thanks, Lisa.
Yeah.
Adelson, did you have anything to add on that one?
Yeah, just adding on that, I believe that frameworks are really important as well because, in our case, we have a variety of different suppliers, over 50,000 suppliers around the globe, and those are only the direct ones, right? But how do we actually assess and make sure that the most sustainable practices are being implemented across the whole value chain upstream? And I believe that global frameworks are the key to that, because if operations have those values and ambitions embedded in their operations, then it would be much easier to make it make sense economically as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Adelson. I can see that we are pretty much back at the hour, so we'll draw the conversation to a close there. I just want to say an enormous thank you to our 4 panelists. It's been a really interesting conversation. I hope that everyone who has joined agrees that we've kind of covered a huge amount, from different approaches to circularity, the importance of collaboration between different parts of the value chain, and then that really difficult question, well, it sounds great, so why is it not happening everywhere? And some kind of big calls to action. We need to sort out regulation. We need to collaborate as much as possible, and we need to look at frameworks and standards related to this. We need to keep profitability and the kind of economy part in mind if we're going to be able to successfully make the business case. So a kind of whistle-stop tour of everything related to circularity of mining and metals. If anyone is particularly interested in learning more about this, we will be running a session at the World Circular Economy Forum, which is happening in Brazil in 2 weeks. The main session has a session on mining and metals, and then there's a number of side sessions, including one that ICMM has been involved in, and there will be an option to join that one virtually. So do take a look at the World Circular Economy Forum. This conversation will also be continuing at the World Resources Forum, which is on the 2nd and 3rd of September in Geneva. And if you take a look in the chat box, you can find out more about that. So that's it from us. Thank you so much again for joining. Thank you to our panelists, and I hope everyone has enjoyed the conversation today.
Thank you, Brianni. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you,
all.
Brianni, and thank you all, Lane, Lisa, and Adelson. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.